Have you ever spent hours cramming for an exam, only to forget everything the next day? Or maybe you can recite facts, but when someone asks you to explain them, you draw a blank. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. The human brain can forget up to 50% of new information within just 1 hour. But what if I told you there's a way to not only memorize faster, but also understand things so deeply that they stick with you for life? It's not about having a photographic memory. It's about learning how to learn. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to share some powerful science-backed techniques that will completely transform the way you study and learn. For decades, we've been taught to learn by rereading, highlighting, and summarizing. We spend countless hours poring over textbooks, hoping the information will magically seep into our brains. This is what's called passive learning. It feels productive, but it's incredibly inefficient. The real secret to effective learning isn't just about getting information in. It's about being able to get it out. It's the difference between being a parrot that repeats words and a scholar who truly understands concepts. Today, we're going to bridge that gap. I'll give you practical strategies you can start using right away to lock in knowledge and build genuine comprehension. No more last-minute cramming or feeling like you're not smart enough. It's time to learn smarter, not harder. Let's dive into our first and arguably most powerful technique, active recall. Imagine your brain is a library. Passive learning is like putting a new book on a random shelf and hoping you'll find it later. Active recall is like practicing walking to that specific shelf and pulling the book out over and over again. It's the act of actively retrieving information from your memory. Instead of rereading your notes, close the book and ask yourself, what were the main points of that chapter? Or use flashcards, not by just flipping them over, but by truly trying to recall the answer before you check. This struggle, this mental effort to retrieve information, is what creates strong neural pathways. It's the workout your brain needs to build memory muscle. A common mistake is reading a chapter and thinking, yep, I get it. The correct approach is to read it, then try to explain the key concepts out loud to yourself or an imaginary friend without looking at the text. It might feel harder, but that difficulty is a sign that you're actually learning. Next up, let's talk about spaced repetition. Our brains are wired to forget. It's a survival mechanism to prevent us from being overwhelmed by useless information. So how do we tell our brain, hey, this is important, don't delete it? The answer is spaced repetition. Instead of cramming all your study sessions into one night, you space them out over increasing intervals. For example, you might review a concept 1 hour after learning it, then a day later, then a few days later, then a week later, and so on. This strategic timing interrupts the forgetting curve just as you're about to forget something, signaling to your brain that this information is valuable and needs to be stored in long-term memory. Think of it like watering a plant. You don't dump a month's worth of water on it at once. You give it a little bit at regular intervals to keep it healthy and growing. Many students make the mistake of studying a topic intensely for one day and then never looking at it again until the final exam. A better way is to create a review schedule. After a lecture, do a quick 10-minute review. The next day, a 5-minute review. This simple habit will save you hours of painful relearning down the road. Now let's move from just memorizing to truly understanding with our third technique, the Feynman Technique. Named after the brilliant physicist Richard Feynman, this method is deceptively simple, but incredibly powerful. It has 4 steps. First, pick a concept you want to understand. Second, teach it to a child. Okay, you don't need an actual child, but you must explain it using the simplest language possible, avoiding jargon. As you do this, you'll quickly discover the gaps in your own understanding. That brings us to step 3. Identify those gaps. Where did you get stuck? What couldn't you explain simply? Go back to your source material and fill in those knowledge gaps. Finally, step 4. Review and simplify your explanation again. Repeat this process until you can explain the concept in a way that is clear, concise, and simple. The mistake most people make is using complex terminology to hide their lack of true understanding. The Feynman Technique forces you to strip away that complexity and confront what you don't know. It's the ultimate test of comprehension. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Our fourth strategy is a favorite for creative and visual learners: visualization and association. Our brains are fantastic at remembering images, stories, and locations. In fact, the part of our brain responsible for spatial memory is highly developed. So, why not use that to our advantage? Instead of trying to memorize a boring list of facts, turn them into a vivid mental movie. If you're learning about historical events, don't just memorize dates and names. Imagine yourself there. What do you see, hear, and smell? Create a crazy, memorable story that connects the pieces of information. This is called association. The more absurd or emotional the association, the better you'll remember it. For example, if you need to remember that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, you could picture a mighty condor flexing its muscles inside a prison cell. It's silly, but you won't forget it. The common mistake is trying to brute force memorize dry information. The smart approach is to transform that information into something your brain is naturally good at remembering, engaging multisensory experiences. Finally, let's talk about chunking. Our short-term memory is limited. Most people can only hold about 7 pieces of information at a time. Trying to memorize a long string of numbers like 949551234 is difficult. But if you chunk it into 949555124, it suddenly becomes manageable. That's chunking in action, breaking down large amounts of information into smaller, meaningful units. This isn't just for numbers. When you're learning a complex subject, don't try to swallow the whole textbook at once. Break the chapter down into its core concepts. Then, break those concepts down into key ideas. Focus on understanding one chunk at a time before moving on to the next. Once you've mastered the individual chunks, you can start to see how they connect to form the bigger picture. Students often get overwhelmed by the sheer volume of material. They see a mountain and give up before they even start climbing. The correct approach is to see it as a series of small hills. Master one chunk, feel that sense of accomplishment, and then move to the next. This builds momentum and makes the learning process feel far less intimidating and much more achievable. So, let's quickly put it all together. To memorize quickly, we use active recall to pull information out of our brain and spaced repetition to tell our brain what's important to keep. To understand deeply, we use the Feynman Technique to simplify concepts and identify our knowledge gaps, visualization to create memorable mental images, and chunking to break down complex topics into manageable pieces. The mistake is passive rereading. The solution is active, strategic engagement with the material. Now, I have a challenge for you. I want you to pick just one of these strategies and try it today. Maybe use the Feynman Technique to explain something you learned at work or in class, or use active recall to review your notes from this morning. Whatever you choose, I want you to come back here and leave a comment below telling us which strategy you tried and how it felt. Did you notice a difference? Let's turn the comment section into a lab for better learning. Remember, becoming an effective learner isn't a gift you're born with. It's a skill you build. It's about having the right tools and knowing how to use them. By combining fast memorization with deep comprehension, you're not just preparing for an exam, you're equipping yourself for a lifetime of growth and success. You have the power to master any subject you choose. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video on boosting your focus. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.